Hello, my beautiful besties, and welcome to another reaction. This song I cannot wait to hear because it was the first single by ELO. Let's go check it out. It was requested for by Cosmo Kramer. Very interesting stuff, man. To start with, right, I've said it a few times before, and I think everybody who loves ELO knows this, right? That was very, very, very Beatles, or Beatle-esque, however you want to look at it, right? I can see the influence there so clearly, right? And being 1971, I would not be surprised if a lot of people heard this on the radio the first time and thought to themselves, are the Beatles back together? That's how much it reminded one of the Beatles. Now, that aside, right, when you listen to the guitars of the part where I just stopped now, it actually sounded like, or sounds like, what a lot of British acts came to do later on in the 90s and 2000s, bands like the Oasis and stuff like that, it sounded so much like what they were doing now, so maybe those guys have gone back. They listened to this song and that's where they got the influence from, because the guitars, and the sound, it sounded so much like a lot of bands, in Britain, like in the 90s and 2000s. It's incredible, really, man. If I just heard that part playing, I would say that was Oasis. And many other bands I cannot be bothered to mention right now, but Oasis is the biggest, so that's the one that comes to my mind. Great stuff, man. Great stuff. And I'm really, really shocked that it's the first single, because it sounded like, they've been doing this sound for a long time. It sounds so, I don't know, it sounds so like, the word I'm looking for is not perfect, but it sounded like they're so comfortable doing this, and it's the first single. Great stuff, man. it sounds so much like Sgt. Pepper album, man. It's incredible. You know, now it's so spooky because here, right, they were like clearly riding on the influence of the Beatles, but on the same song, right, when it comes to the guitars, right, they have now gone to influence like music in the next 30 years, you know, because it's the number of bands that I've heard who've got that guitar sound, you know, like in the 90s and the 2000s, you know, and even some today. It's incredible, you know. So they were being influenced, and then they were like influencing somebody else as well. So, you know, it's just like a great circle, you know. It's a case of what came first, you know, the egg or the shell. No, sorry, not the egg or the shell, the yolk or the shell. Fantastic stuff, man. I like it. I really do, you know. And I just like the two total like parallels, you know, the two how on one hand, you know, they were like riding the Beatles influence, and on the other hand, they were like influencing music, you know, that was going to be like played in 30, 30, 40 years later. Fantastic stuff.
Did you see that man running through the streets today? Did you catch his face? Was he one of my dreams?
Fantastic stuff, man. I've always said one thing, right? You know, I have no problem with like you being like influenced by somebody, or maybe you get into a position because you knew somebody and they helped you. You know, they put you into the door. You know, because you can get help to get into the room, but how talented you are, how good you are, will determine how long you stay in that room for. And ELO were like clearly like influenced by the Beatles. They wrote on the Beatles, but the fact that, you know, ELO and Jeff, right, they were like around for like decades and decades later. Not only that, right, they like made some incredible music along the way as well. Shows you that, you know, these guys, right, you know, they're not like they're not like a clone to anybody, right? You know, they are very and were very talented in their own rights, because it's like, you know, yeah, they had the influence, but this guy went on to write their own story. So that's why for me, right, you know, when I see people who maybe they got somewhere through like you know, like a help, or somebody knew somebody, or somebody called somebody, that's cool. Now you've got into that room. Let's see how good you are. Let's see how long you can stay there for. ELO are a perfect example of that. You know, ridiculous stuff, man. You know, I would not be surprised if some people who heard this when it came out, they probably thought, okay, yeah, nice song, you know, sounds a lot like the Beatles. You know, they like copied the Beatles, and I'm sure they'll be gone in a year or two. Who knew that, you know, they will go on to become such monsters, you know, doing like some incredible recordings, you know, and songs along the way. writing some incredible songs, and Jeff being one of the greatest producers of the modern era, you know. So typical example. And Lennon saw that, you know, because Lennon hasn't got like a good mouth, as you all know, right? He doesn't like mince his words. If he thinks it's black, he will say it's black. If he thinks it's gray, he'll say it's gray. But I think he could see that, you know, even though we influence these guys are more than, you know, they're more than like a band who have just like got heroes. They've got something special inside of them, you know. I think by now you know exactly how I feel about the song, so I wouldn't say too much along the way anymore. I loved it. It was beautiful, and it's just mind-blowing to me that this was their first single. You know, it sounds like a song you'll be releasing maybe in your second album, you know, but to be in the first, you know, album, first single, that's very, very remarkable. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to give the video a big like for me. If it was your first time here today, I welcome you on board. Nice to see you. I hope you do come back again. My name is Harry. Stay cool, stay safe out there wherever you are. But most of all, stay beautiful in your heart and soul. And I'll see you all next up. Bye-bye.